Hey, welcome back to Discovering More. Happy New Year. And we took a break here at Peace from Discovering More as we worked our way through Advent and had some other content going on. But we are jumping back into Revelation here in 2026 and talking about how we celebrate the triumph of God. Victory is something we love in America. It's something we love in sports. And it's something that the Bible picks up as well. So, Mark, you preached this last week on celebrating the triumph.
Yeah, and there's so many things that I could go off on. One of the things, though, that strikes me is that, at least in sports, what I find really interesting is that there'll be a great victory, and that lasts maybe about a couple days, and then pretty soon, almost immediately they're talking, well, what about next season? Mm-hmm. You know, and so I wonder if we have problems really celebrating because we see all the brokenness around us and we're always wondering, well, what's next? You know, we did really well this year, but what's next? And maybe even with regard to Jesus that, maybe when we get to heaven we'll celebrate. But in the meantime, we don't really celebrate that long or that fully.
It almost makes me think of like gambling addicts, right? Like right. You have your victory, you win that round or whatever, but you're so drawn to go to the next round, and spend your winnings or whatever. And almost like we're addicted or obsessed with winning in the sense that we can't even, like you said, just celebrate the moment and let it be what it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you talked about in your sermon, one thing that you talked about was how for the original hearers of the book of Revelation, like the threat of death was all around them. The Christian church was born out of a culture of persecution and suffering and dying, and how that would change the way we read Revelation. This hopefulness, this celebration that we all there will be victory for us in the end, even though we continue to lose here, there, and everywhere. But today in America, the church doesn't have that same threat of death. But you compared it to the threat of doubt that looms over us. I thought that was a good comparison. I don't know if you want to unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah, you could pick out different sorts of attack points for Satan, and I'm not sure that. Well, I think for a good number of folks, doubt is significant. We live in this secular age, and it's just easy for that to begin to have us question. Whether it's even the existence of Jesus or how could his cross, how could that save us? Mm-hmm. Or can I really believe that he rose again? And so I think that leads us then not necessarily to completely throw away our faith, but to, it's not a vital part of our everyday life because we're not sure enough, we're not confident enough in it. So that would be sort of my take on that.
Less predictable than the stock market.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
And that leads into my thinking about victory. Is I think too often Christians, our sense of victory is too influenced by the world. And so the victory that we want is the world's victory, and it tends to be about, I want a comfortable life. Victory for me is going to be when I get what I need all together and I have this comfortable life. And that's really not a biblical sense of victory at all. The biblical sense of victory is that God's rule is coming in. The kingdom is coming into the world right now, and that we are able to be a part of that by living the way God calls us to live, in spite of all of the darkness and the destruction and the losing in many other ways.
And there's always another hill to take.
Right.
Yeah. There's always another place for the kingdom to reach.
Right.
Which is maybe one of the reasons we have trouble celebrating.
Right, yeah.
There's always that next hill. Right?
It's always easy to see the darkness, to see the things that aren't going well around us.
Right.
And so I think we tend to insulate ourselves and say, well, I'm going to worry about me and my victory, my personal victories, rather than God's victory.
Yeah. Right. And going back a little bit to that threat of death versus threat of doubt, it's kind of like, to me, as I imagine the Israelites getting enslaved in Egypt, they were more numerous. They're bigger, stronger. they just slowly got wrapped into slavery, and put into this box. And we just came through the series on holding out hope, and I just feel like as people in the 21st century, like we have so many great things, yet they're just like chaining us down rather than, we can't see the forest for the trees for some reason, and we're missing the beauty of life in the midst of a beautiful life that we all have. I mean, I think it's easy to do, isn't it? But the threat of doubt, it really is like it becomes this significant part of people's life that we really do need to know that we have a reason for hope and that we have something worth celebrating. So I think this will be a helpful reading Revelation in that light, to say we have something worth celebrating. One of the lines that stuck out to me about when you were preaching, Mark, was you talked about how in Revelation 5 there's the image of the one who was slain, obviously who's a lamb, so the lamb who was slain, and then later on calling him the lion, and so like what is John actually seeing here? Because in our head, I got Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia mixed with the stained glass window from my childhood church with the lamb, with the king's staff and the crown and the blood. What is John actually seeing?
Yeah, that went through my mind too. It's when he says one who looked like he was slain, had been slain. What made him look like he had been slain? Because in my mind, I see this kind of, like dead, like I'm just death warmed over kind of lamb. But I don't think that's what he meant. I know it's curious because the picture is one of hope. Right? It's like I saw this lamb who looked like he was slain, but he's alive again, and now there's still glory coming out of him in some way. And I think that's also hard for us to understand and to relate to death leading to glory.
Well, and I think in our dreams, sometimes when we dream, like we know somebody is somebody, even if they don't look like who they're supposed to look like or what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, and so in when we interpret a dream or a vision, even Ezekiel right now, as I'm reading through the Bible in a year, and which means I'm way behind, right? Ezekiel's like in the middle. I'm doing the Old Testament and the New Testament, to be fair, so we're getting near the end of the Old Testament. But he said, I saw what looked like, or what appeared to be, what seemed as. So he's trying to use language to describe something that he can't really fully describe.
Right.
And so here, like for us, what should we be taking away from this concept of the lamb who was slain and the lion of Judah? What do you?
Well, for me, first of all, in terms of what John saw, I still go back to that Jesus was still the incarnate Jesus. And so he would have had a body that looks like ours in some way, that there'd be a human resemblance, and yet I always thought that, he still has the scars, that those are still, so that'll be evident for eternity, I guess. So anyway, so that was kind of what John saw, but then interpreted by the Spirit to say, hey, this is Jesus the lion, because he's got, he's, however our bodies are going to look in heaven, we can just anticipate that. It'll be better than now.
Better than now.
And,
how you feel when you walk by the lion's cage at the zoo. You're like, if I met this guy without this cage in between us, like the way that a lion will look.
Yeah.
Like, there's a pride and a strength and a hunger. And so Jesus was embodying that pride and strength and hunger alongside embodying the peacefulness of a lamb, or the willingness to follow of a lamb. It's two images hard to juxtapose together.
Yeah, I just figured that John saw the exalted Jesus, and then the Spirit gave him the metaphors of lion and lamb. That's kind of my take on it.
Okay.
So
it's wild stuff. But like you said, what do we take away from it? And it takes us all back to the victory, that whatever he saw, he saw a glory in Jesus that said, he's won, and I can celebrate that because his victory is he's sharing his victory with us.
Yeah. So be invited in. Yeah. So that's an encouragement. Be invited in. You read Revelation, and just be invited into the drama, invited into the story of God's ultimate victory in Jesus.
Yeah, and let it spark your theological and faith imagination.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for tuning in to this this round of Discovering More. Looking forward to the next, what do we got, 5 weeks of Revelation.
Yeah.
So keep coming back for more, and God's blessings in your new year.